Hey homeschoolers, I'm Melissa Webb, former full-time classroom teacher and homeschool mom turned full-time business CEO. I want to give you sound, educational, practical tips and advice at the same time making sure that you're enjoying the family journey that you are on. So if you are looking for a place to be encouraged and inspired, you have found the perfect podcast. Homeschooling is a work of heart is truly the perfect place to start. So welcome. Let's jump in. Hello, homeschoolers, and welcome back to Homeschool is a Work of Heart. I'm curious, have you ever been fortunate enough to meet one of your heroes? Have you ever been a super fan? Maybe you were lucky enough to meet a famous sports figure, an actor or actress, maybe a rock star. You're going to have to let me know who you've met. Well, back in 2015, I think, I did get to meet mine. I met Andrew Pudewa. Now, don't laugh. He may not be a big star in the eyes of many, but this man changed me as a teacher, and specifically as a writing teacher. He was the very first person I ever heard blend how the brain works in tandem with how we write as human beings. He is the man who is also the creator of IEW, the Institute for Excellence in Writing. Many of you have used his program. I think he's fabulous in so many ways. But best of all, when I met him, it was in a small workshop where I was privileged, yes, to hear him teach. But I also got to meet him and I got to speak to him personally. Not that he would even remember this, but it was something I will never forget because he was so kind and humble and gracious and brilliant and humorous in that dad kind of way. And I will forever be one of his biggest fans. And even though I don't do everything the way he would necessarily suggest I teach things, that's okay, right? We're all a little different. We all have different ways of doing the things that we do. But we align in so many ways. I will always support him. I remember being in this small conference, and right from the start, he acknowledged how writing can feel like a battle for many teachers and families, for kids, for adults. And I always felt that way. And I always wanted to find the solution because I know it's a battle we need to win. Writing is thinking. We want and we need our kids to be strong and competent thinkers in today's world. So this week, I'm going to break down one of my most favorite seminars that he ever hosted. And if you don't already know this, he offers countless free recordings of the talks that he hosts. So if you want to listen to the full session that I'm going to break down for you this week, or any of his many others, if you're like, wow, okay, this is somebody that Melissa resonates with, this person, and I resonate with Melissa, then I think I might want to listen to what he has to say. You won't be disappointed. I really think you'll get far more out of all of his things if you go and listen. He's just kind of long-winded, whereas I like to keep things a little bit shorter to 15, 20 minutes. He'll talk for a couple of hours, and everything he has to say is amazing. So I'm going to bullet point some of the things that I really loved in one of my most favorite sessions. Hopefully it will be enough, but like I said, you can always go and listen to his full recordings. The thing is, really, since his way of thinking fully aligns with my teaching philosophy, I'm sure that's why I think he's so great, because we think alike, then this is just going to go hand in hand with everything I teach, anything that I've previously shared with you. He doesn't know it, but we are kindred spirits. So Let's go ahead and jump in to this week's topic, which, as you can see from the title, it's called Why Kids Hate Writing and How to Fix It. It's something that I've always wanted to figure out, and I continue to figure it out every semester, every time I get a new batch of kiddos. And I ask the students when they tell me they hate writing, which is just a thought in their head, I ask, can you tell me why? And they have so many reasons why they have told me over the years, decades, why they hate writing. But I can sum up all of their answers into one sentence. Students hate writing because they have yet to have had a good experience with the process. It all comes down to that. They've not enjoyed it in any way, shape, or form. And therefore, it's not fun or it's confusing. And since it's never been a good experience, they just tend to hate it. And so we must ask the question, whose fault is that? Well, that's a fault that we as educators need to take on. Do you agree? Well, it's not our job or our ability to make a child love writing. That is a thought that every individual is going to have to choose. I wish I had that kind of ability to change people's thinking. I'm not able to do that. However, what I can do, and what I do have the responsibility of doing for all of my students, is boiled down to 4 things. I must encourage, guide, structure, and recognize every student's writing skill and ability. And over time, I am able to achieve great things because my goal as an online writing coach to the many students and families that I am fortunate and lucky enough to work with is to prepare them to successfully compose a purposeful assignment that's going to demonstrate strong communication skills. That's it. At the end of the day, even if a child still chooses to believe that I'm not good at writing, I don't enjoy writing, they get to choose whatever they want to believe, but they can also dually believe, but I am decent at getting the job done when needed. And so if you have a child who says, I hate writing, just know it's probably because one of these 4 things has been missing. The best encouragement, the best guidance, the best structure, and the best recognition. Because once a student has that, even if they never love it, they will still believe I am decent at getting the job done. And that's great. That's a step in the right direction. Yes, we do have a lot of students in our programs who turn from I never liked writing to now it's my most favorite subject. And that's exciting. I would love to give that to every child as a gift, but I can't. It's all up in what they're thinking. But if I can show up with those 4 do's, then I know I can push them in the right direction. And so can you. So Andrew Pudewa has talked for countless hours on the subject of skill preparedness. And one of the seminars that I love the most is titled The 4 Deadly Errors of Teaching Writing. Have you listened to this? It's a 90-minute recording, so it takes a while to get through it. But I'm going to bullet point or put into a nutshell these 4 deadly errors of teaching writing. It could be just enough for you busy people to get this breakdown, but I will link the entire recording in the show notes just in case you would like to go even deeper, because he does a much better job than what I'm going to do in this short podcast today. I also have to tell you, back when I was in college, one of my favorite professors, when we were working on our teaching credentials, had said how important it is, for example, when you're creating class rules, to put them into a positive tone rather than do not run. It is always better to tell students what they can do rather than a long list of don't do this, don't do that. Do you hear the difference in tone? If I say, do not run, do not yell, do not leave the class without permission, those are all lists of do not. So when I was a classroom teacher, I always made sure that we created class rules, very few, because I think less is more, much easier to remember. And I always would turn it into a positive. Instead of saying, do not run, we walk in the classroom. Do not yell. We raise our hand and ask to be called on. Instead of, we do not leave the classroom without permission. We ask permission. So while Andrew Pudewa's fantastic seminar is on the 4 deadly errors, I will tell you, I couldn't help myself. That professor from years ago was in my head saying, but what would you say instead of that? What would be the positive twist on that? That's where I came up with, and what I follow are encourage, guide, structure, and recognize. Those are the positive twists to this. So error number 1 that Andrew Pudewa talks about is the problem of overcorrecting, which is made up of 2 parts, really, over and correcting. And it's something that I absolutely agree with. In fact, I don't ever tell our students that I'm going to correct your paper, I'm going to grade your paper. I like to think of reviewing a student's work and offering suggestions. We call it editing. There's revision and there's editing. And I think that when we overcorrect, have you ever been overcorrected? We actually turn students off. It can drain a child's confidence when all we're doing is finding the mistakes instead of, this is a really strong thesis. What a clever hook. We all need to be told what it is we're doing well as a couple of things that we could do to improve. I'm all for giving suggestions for improvement, but writing is an interesting thing. It is not a science. It's not like math, where 3 times 3 is 9. It is an art. It's part of language arts. It's an art. It can always be defined, developed in new ways. So when I'm just giving my opinion, this would be a better word choice. It's just that. It's a subjective opinion. And I tell students, I like these words that I'm coming up with. Do you like either of those? I think they sound more academic. If you disagree, you are the author. So I always tell them, you're the boss, applesauce. And I like to give them that freedom that they understand we're coming together in a partnership. We're looking at their writing. We're looking for what they're doing well. And we're also finding ways to improve. So while he says deadly error number 1 is overcorrecting, I would turn that around and say, when you are reviewing your child's work, offer encouragement first. Always start with what they are doing well and offer what you do want to suggest as just that, a suggestion. Error number 2 that Andrew Pudewa discusses is holding back help. And so this is really common because a lot of, especially home educators, believe that they shouldn't be helping their children. Their children are somehow supposed to just figure it out on their own, maybe with the guidance of a couple videos. However, students who actually have parents who sit with them, especially in the beginning, and either guide them through the assignment or work alongside them during the assignment, doing their own version of the assignment, those students catch on more quickly. When they are being mentored by you, when they are seeing how you're stumbling or figuring things out, they are learning so much more and they will learn it faster. You want to be careful not to give too little help. and just expecting your children to figure it out. Here's the thing, your kids are going to become independent. They just will. The students in our programs in the beginning are confused. They're overwhelmed. They're like, Mom, how do I do this? Moms sit down. They go through the first maybe month together, maybe the first 2 months together. And all of a sudden, they all tell us, it's fabulous. They tell us they know it's a good day when their child is like, Mom, I don't need your help. I've got it now. Isn't that what we want? Yes, we don't want them to stall or get frustrated in the beginning. So help them, show them how to proceed. Eventually, they are going to tell you, I've got it. And you'll know when they do. So again, where he would say an error is holding back some help, I would turn that around and say, remember to guide your children. Don't just expect them to know how to do such a complex task of academic writing. They're going to need guidance. So if you do not feel strong in this area, if this is not your expertise, you too need guidance. And we have programs that help with that. So be sure to check things out. If you're like, that's me, I've got you. Totally can help you there. Let's move on to error 3, which Andrew Pudewa calls unclear assignments. So this is where he talks about how teachers or home educators are putting an assignment in front of a student that's just so vague. It's lacking the structure that it needs. It's unclear what the expectations are, or maybe the prompt is confusing. This happens all the time, and I bet it happened to you even as a student, where you're just given a blank piece of paper, maybe in a history class, and you as a class have been studying, I don't know, ancient Egypt, and all of a sudden the teacher just says, okay, I want you to summarize what we have covered in chapter 6. And you're left with that. That is such an unclear assignment. It is missing so many critical pieces. And when people ask, why do I believe our writing systems are producing such incredible results in our students, I would say this is probably one of our number one strengths, and it's structure. We are very structured. We tell students what to do in 30-minute increments, 5 days a week. We break the writing process down into the pre-writing, where they're just preparing their minds for what is the purpose, what is the research that's going to be necessary to answer the prompt, how are they going to take notes and turn that into an outline. We are so structured. And that would be the opposite of offering up the error of an unclear assignment. What you want to do is give structure. So critical. The final error that Pudewa talks about is over expectation. And so this again is something you need to take like a personal look inward. How demanding are you? Are you demanding too much? Maybe in terms of what the child should be able to do beyond what their developmental stage is, or maybe how polished that first draft is supposed to be. The problem with this is that we can put so much pressure and this idea of perfectionism into writing, which only backfires and produces fear of writing. This is a reason why a lot of students will tell me they dislike writing so much, because it's never good enough. So what we want to do is recognize progress, recognize growth, and understand that, again, writing is never going to be perfect. I've published a children's book that if I could go back, I would still make changes. And I read that countless numbers of times. I had an editor at Covenant Books Incorporated who published my book. And I still would be like, I wish I had said that or that. Is it fine the way it is? Absolutely. Is it perfect? No. Will it ever be? And that's okay. We need to make sure we understand that writing is not perfection. It's an art, therefore it can always be tweaked or changed in some way. I love it when my students catch my mistakes, maybe in an email that I sent or in an assignment that I put together for them. And I always applaud them. I'm like, good job finding out that I'm human. You're human too. Please don't expect me to be perfect. And please know I will never expect you to be perfect. What I will expect are some realistic, progressive examples of growth. That's what I want to see. So just make sure that rather than over expecting to turn that into a positive, recognize what they are doing well, even if it's something as simple as 1 month they struggled with topic sentences and this month they did a really great topic sentence. That's growth. So recognize it. Just as a quick little recap, as I mentioned, his 4 deadly errors for teaching writing are spot on. We overcorrect, we hold back on helping, we give unclear assignments, and we can over expect from our children and students. So instead, as you go into the next writing assignment that you give to your children, consider how are you going to encourage more, give the guidance they need, structure with clarity, and recognize their growth and progress. That's exactly what you want to do. I do suggest that you check out Andrew Pudewa's full seminar to go a little bit deeper. But if nothing else, I hope you're feeling encouraged, because writing does not have to be a battle that your child dreads or that you dread. No, with more clarity, your kiddos can grow into writers who will start to trust their voice, and they won't hate writing. They will know that they can do it and hopefully enjoy the process more. Right on. Well, thanks so much for tuning in and listening this week. Hey, if this was something that you found valuable, don't forget you want to subscribe or follow so that every time a new episode is dropped, you'll be the first to know. And hey, before you go, if you are looking to get some of this academic writing under your belt and outsourced so that it's one less thing freeing you up to enjoy more time with your family, hey, you're going to want to head over to writeonweb.com to see what kinds of resources and materials I have available for you. I will look forward to seeing you there, and I will look forward to seeing you here in our next episode. Right on.